Only a few series left here for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, staying at #1 for our World Championship. As we started the day with a total of 76 players, and we've definitely broken that down. We have just a few more left here in bracket number 2, and I am joined at the desk by Rotterdam, we have Todd, we have Maynard. To get things going, I do want to check in with you, Rotterdam, to begin things, because Creator versus Guru is still going on. We're in game number 2.
Yep, game 2 is sort of even. I mean, Guru has a supply lead, but a lot of it is in roaches, so sometimes the soup does lie a little bit. We can go ahead and take a look at game number 2. There was one thing that I actually really liked, as Johan loved the reference, of course. Let's take a good look, because the Creator is actually moving out, and I kind of feel this is a risky move out. Is his army powerful? Yes, but the Hydra count has been climbing. We're looking at 20 Hydras now. There are 5 more on the way. Creator cannot afford to lose his army, because it's not like he's got Storm at home or Colossus. So he's actually treading dangerous waters here. Guru is setting up a flank. Then he pressed F2, but now he's going to flank again. And I actually think that Guru can kill this army. He's got so many Hydras.
That's a lot of force fields going down on this side.
But that's so many Hydras, and they're going to...
Keep breaking them down with the Ravagers, moving in from the top as well.
Can you hear it? Can you hear the Hydras attack?
They don't sound like this at all.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Wow!
By the way, the soup certainly didn't lie.
There you go.
No, in the end, they didn't lie. I mean, that was because the Hydra count really did go up. So Guru, just like that, evens up the series.
Yep.
Kind of a weird game. Guru stopped droning at 41 supply. Not something that's very common. He wanted to make a bunch of roaches. Creator saw it with a single scout. First thing he did, and I love that, is instead of doing the regular, I'm going to go up to 3 bases after opening Resonating Glaives, he queued up a Void Ray and he stayed on 2 bases. But then Guru actually made a very good call. He's like, okay, if you're actually not going up to 3 bases yet, then obviously I'm going to go back to droning. I'm going to get my Hydras. And that's how we ended up in this kind of odd game. But yeah, Guru takes a relatively easy victory in the end.
Yeah, there you go, with 1 game to go in that best of 3. Now, I want to talk to you guys quickly about Scarlett versus Zanster before it does begin. Scarlett's one loss in this tournament so far, well, realistically, was to Guru. Zanster is a Zerg who, you know, isn't going to be throwing some crazy aggression, or at least he can potentially do so. But he's a Zerg that is threatening in the European scene for all the top Zergs. So everything isn't very comfortable for Scarlett down at the bottom. It's definitely all to play for in this series.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, you know, like we talked about this. Scarlett against the top Zergs. She seemed to be doing well recently in Pyeongchang. She won against Cyril, I believe. And did she win against Snoot as well? I think she might. Roddy?
In Pyeongchang? No, Elaser.
Oh, Elaser and Cyril it was. Yes. Which is basically Europe's finest in terms of Zergs. But then she lost to Guru here, and she lost to Namshar just before that in Leipzig. So it's like, she loses to the lesser Zergs, apparently. So where does Zanster fit in there? I guess somewhere in between. So yeah, so it's like almost like a weird matchup where I feel like if Scarlett is like fully motivated and like obviously she really wants this and she plays 100%, she should be the favorite. But she showed before that sometimes she struggles against these other Zergs.
Well, we don't need to dither around anymore. We can head over to our commentary team now as we have our next match ready. And the winner of this will move on to a qualifying match.
What a match we have coming up here. I have to say, after casting IEM Pyeongchang, hosting the GSL, I'm really curious if Scarlett can win this.
Yeah.
I think she's a big threat in this tournament, but Zanster is no joke.
Yeah, he's actually been coming out and steadily building up his name. I remember it was like 6 months ago, a few people were kind of whispering about Zanster, and I was like, really, Zanster? I was like, you know, I don't know if he's that great. And since then, I have been converted. I am a believer in the skill of Zanster. But, I mean, top 8 in GSL, the champion of IEM as well. Scarlett has just been beast moding it. So I think there's a big question mark above this match. Scarlett, the favorite, but is she looking at her best form today in this tournament? I feel like she's had a rough start. She's been a little bit up and down in these matches so far.
Yeah, I think some of the results we've seen here from Scarlett were flukes, but you're really not allowed to make too many mistakes or you're just eliminated from the tournament. You know, Zanster, he's hungry to take that mantle away from Scarlett, and if he wins here, it's a big win for him. All right, we're in the game. Let's do this. In the bottom left, in the blue, she is Scarlett. And her opponent here in the upper right, in the red, he is Zanster.
Started making a name for himself in the Zerg vs Protoss matchup, but It's one of these European Zergs. This has got to be part of a specialty of making up to that high level of play. Of course, a good pickup here for Storm Gaming. He's been doing very well since joining the squad. And he's going to be going for a hatchery first. Both players macroing on up to start things out. And of course, the decisions we start to see made in the follow-up are really what tend to define the rest of the match. And Scarlett, what defined her play at IEM Pyeongchang over there in Korea was very weird, decisive timing attacks. She pulled out these like super fast roach attacks with roach speed and +1 off just like 31 drones. She pulled out some very surprising Ling Bane attacks. She had like massive range to her play. Today, I haven't seen as much of that from her yet. She's been playing a little bit more straightforward. So I'm very curious, is she going to go back to those wild timing attacks? I feel like it's served her so well in the past. It'd be a great idea here.
Yeah, you have to wonder, though, if you continue to be an aggressive player, do people eventually map you out, right? There are only so many different ways to be aggressive, and sometimes it's a good idea to try to switch back into a more turtley macro style. But
I like mixing it up.
Yeah,
like a bit of both. Like, I don't go too far back into just defensive macro, but somewhere in between where it's like, bam, once in a best of 3, you throw out that crazy attack. I feel like that keeps your opponents guessing.
I think you're absolutely right. Also, it should be noted that Zanster and Scarlett, they're very familiar with each other's play styles. Zanster was just in Korea, also training with the other non-Koreans. So, how much does Zanster know about just Scarlett's overall philosophy of Zerg versus Zerg? Because that could be leveraged against her. Of course, conversely, Scarlett may know a lot about how Zanster approaches a matchup, and maybe that's where, you know, she can exploit that fact of him. But there's a lot of mind games that are going on that we might not be able to pick up on because these two players are friends and training partners.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. Couldn't have said it better myself. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes here in terms of the decision-making. Interestingly, Scarlett has actually stopped droning at 20 drones. She's building a fast third hatch. So as far as Zanster knows, this looks normal, but she's bringing 2 queens out to chase out his Overlord vision, and she is going to do a huge Link Flood behind this. But she doesn't realize about that other Overlord just to the north of these queens. There's actually another one. So he's going to see these Zerglings coming out. He's immediately got the information. Scarlett knows it's been spotted. She just has to go. And I don't know if Zanster's going to be prepared because his Baneling Nest, I don't think it's up just yet. I think it's just mass Zergling versus mass Zergling.
So the rush has been activated. Link Speed just now finishing. Scarlett in pursuit here. Try and hit the Lings of Zanster. Zanster backing up, identifying that there are more Lings still on the way, trying to pick a location to fight where there's a little bit more surface area. The Queen's now coming out to help defend, and Scarlett bounces back.
This is such a clean hold here for Zanster. He basically was doing the same thing as Scarlett. Now that we look at it, just a few drones extra, using the defender's advantage with that faster reinforce, and these 2 queens provide such an anchor. He's got to try and defend here. The queen's adding so much damage output in the back of it. It wasn't a terrible angle for Scarlett, but it's not going to be enough. And it seems like Zanster has just held on here. Look at that army supply. He has got double the number of Zerglings on the map right now, and his Baneling Nest is on the way as well. So when Zanster does start counterattacking, Scarlett is going to be hard pressed to hang on. She knows she's behind, so she's desperately droning up. She's trying to make Banelings to equalize, but she's got to defend with far less units right now.
In a moment like this, the action can seesaw back over. This time to Scarlett's side of the map. The Banelings are making, the Lings are quite close, and in the last second, Zanster manages to pull away.
That was a great trade though for Zanster. He got rid of almost all of Scarlett's Zerglings before her Banelings came into play. A few more Zerglings going in. He really wants this kill on the Queen, but Scarlett's micro impeccable. She's got to defend the third base, and this is where things get difficult for the Canadian Zerg. Her Queens making their way off creep to try and defend. There's so many Banelings for Zanster. That third base is forfeit.
Yeah, there's no way that Scarlett can keep that hatchery alive, and it is eliminated. A few more additional Lings coming down here now, and they are taken out. Scarlett in a real dilemma here. It's 3 hatcheries to 2. Scarlett does not have enough income because of that expansion that was just limited. She also doesn't have the same level of production because that hatchery was also destroyed.
She is let down on the army still though, and Zanster, I mean, he's only on 24 workers against the 40 of Scarlett. So even though she's only on 2 bases, I mean, the longer it stays like this, Yeah, she's got a bit less production, but she has so much more money. But this is where things get frightening. These Zerglings sliding their way in, managed to snap that queen on the natural. A few workers are going to go down as well, but the Banelings! A big Baneling intercept catches those Zerglings on the retreat. And Scarlett here, she's putting the third back down. She's going to deflect this attack. Zanster still rallying Lings across the map. He's so far behind on workers, he wants to do more damage.
Yeah, Zanster is doubled down on what's happening right now. Now, if Scarlett manages to deflect these attacks, another counterattack from Scarlett is a very real possibility. Zanster interested in trying to get another shutdown. The Banelings come in, but the hatchery is too low. And again, it is taken out.
She's got to make more Banelings here. Scarlett keeps underestimating how strong these attacks coming out of Zanster will be, and it's that third hatchery getting cancelled multiple times where the damage is happening. A Ling's going to slide their way into that main base and try to pick off a few workers as well. Zanster finding the openings here, and this has bought him the time to catch up in the worker count behind this. He is now going to overtake Scarlett in the workers, and that's massive because he's got the third finished. He's got the Evo and the Roach Warren coming down as well. And with that drone advantage and the massive production edge, I think this is where Zanster establishes that advantage.
Yeah, Zanster coming in here with a very clean game. Now, it's definitely not over for Scarlett, but Scarlett needs to figure out some kind of play to get her back in this game. Right now, Zanster is going to continue to power up, and it looks like this Ling attack is exactly what Scarlett is looking for. The two queens pinned up against the side of the map, but with Banelings coming in, Scarlett needs to be careful how close she actually gets.
Ooh, these Banelings coming in doing a good job. Great focus fire from Zanster, but it does force back the Zergling body blockers, so both queens do fall for Zanster. Scarlett picking up a bit of damage. She's got her own Roach production on the way behind this. Zanster says, you know what, I deflected that. Let's build 15 drones at once. Goes full Zerg mode. He is powering the economy onto that third, and that's going to give him that big worker lead. He's a bit behind in the upgrades, but I think he's looking really healthy in everything else.
Yeah, his economy is looking so healthy. And from here, there are so many different directions that he can take this game. Zanster still managing to slip inside the main base here of Scarlett, therefore scouting what exactly she's up to, how many drones versus attacking units she has. Really, Zanster in very good control in this game. Now, with that said and done, Scarlett does seem to have a bigger army. She may try to push out, but of course, Zanster may rely on counterattacking as he's done so many times throughout the series.
Great queen denial here on the Overseer scouting. Overseer wants to see what's going on. It does spot that very late lair from Zanster. So Scarlett knows she's going to have the massive mobility advantage throughout the middle stages of the game. She knows that his Roach speed can't start until that lair finishes, and her one already almost done. So she's going to be able to run around the map with these Roaches as much as she wants. Curiously, though, she's not starting +2 range yet, and I'd love to see her push that upgrade. There we go. Does finally start up, because that's a big advantage. If that one can finish and you can take a fight when you're an upgrade ahead, it makes such a difference in Roach Wars.
Especially when you consider that Roach Wars are a lot of times about angling, assuming that you're on an even ground. But if you have a major upgrade advantage, a lot of times the angles won't even matter as much. Some really nice play here so far, as Scarlett's basically playing a game of catch-up. This is a very different Scarlett than the Scarlett we saw over the last month. Scarlett, one that was normally dictating every action and the other player forced to react perfectly or lose the game. This time, Scarlett, many times today, falling behind and having to climb her way back up.
It looks like the game is going to stabilize now here in the middle stages, and you know, if you would characterize these two players, I think Zanster is someone who's very comfortable in this mass Roach War stage of Zerg versus Zerg. Scarlett's someone who much prefers to change things up. For a long time, she used to play Protoss in this matchup.
That's right.
Because she doesn't like mirrored matchups. She likes there to be very diverse unit types that counter each other rather than just a raw numbers or positioning game. So Scarlett tends to go towards Mutalisks, something very different that really changes up the dynamic of the play. I can get my words out. Looks like it's going to be Hydralisks this time around, though. So she doesn't really have too much variety or flexibility. Zanster is going to be coming across with a big Roach attack. Not many Ravages. Looks like almost pure Roach, looking for an angle on Scarlett.
Okay, Zanster now moving over here towards the lower center. Scarlett already tracing the footsteps here of Zanster, is ready to meet with a full-on fight if he does commit. Zanster coming down and identifying Scarlett probably has too much. He's going to have to look for a different opening.
He's going to split his army in half here. The Overlords of Scarlett seeing this, she's got to split her army just right in reaction, but a little bit of a slow split from Scarlett. She is going to start to split those units up, eats a few of her own corrosive biles on the south side, but it looks like the numbers are good. I think Scarlett will be able to push him back, and Looks like Tunneling Claw is going to be the follow-up. So Zanster wants to go for the multi-prong Roach harassment. Come in, hit the economy of Scarlett. Meanwhile, she's going for Lurkers, a much stronger frontal fighting unit that can defend and attack in those engagements very well.
That's right. When you go for the Lurkers, you're looking to pick a fight and keep the fight going, whereas the angle that Zanster's taking this series is one where he wants to try to outmaneuver her. He wants to try to get and do damage where Scarlett can't manage to keep up, keeping Scarlett pinned on the map while Zanster continues to grow.
And he is just still splitting these roaches off into little packs. For now, Scarlett's been on top of it. She's just hunting these roaches down around the map. She's building spine crawlers everywhere. She's got Infestation Pit going down. She's adding on pretty much every upgrade. So you can see Scarlett here identifying what Zanster's up to. She's saying, look, you're looking for the counters, the run-bys. I'm just going to lock everything down, and I'm not going to move out at all. I'm just going to defend.
Oh, this may be an overcommitment here by Zanster on both fronts. Scarlett's defense is just too strong. And now Zanster here on the run. We don't see any runarounds by Zanster where he might be able to get into a better position. Bear in mind, it's 4 bases to 4 bases. Until anybody takes critical damage at their expansions, i.e. losing drones, we want to see who can get an additional base up first.
Absolutely, and it seems like Hive Tech going to be coming up as well as the Carapace upgrades for Scarlett. She's just adding on all the tech. She's got Lurkers now positioned around. They're going to be very helpful for holding onto these positions. Zanster, though, if he catches the Lurkers without support, he might just jump on them. He's going to go for it, but those Lurkers quickly unburrowing. They do pull back. All the Roaches and Ravagers coming forward. Scarlett's army, if she can force Zanster to just take a frontal engagement, she's going to destroy it. Zanster needs to stay quick on his feet. He needs to keep threatening these counterattacks. Every time she moves out, he's got a backstab.
That's right. It's a situation, I'm actually wondering if Zanster may be regretting his tech path here, because this seems to be having diminishing returns. If we don't see a massive Roach attack that outmaneuvers Scarlett right away, Zanster's just in an awkward spot, especially when they're both maxing out like this. They can't really make any more units without having to sacrifice some of their own.
I like this move. She kept on telegraphing where he was going, so he's burrowed his entire army, and he's moving it down the south, and Overseer finally spots it. He does unburrow and starts trying to dart in, but he might have finally found an opening. Scarlett, a little bit of indecision. Her army takes a few seconds to chase him down here, and suddenly Zanster
Oh.
finds an opening. He could snipe this hatchery, but no, he's just going to run on further. He's actually getting cornered, though.
This is the problem, though. If Zanster commits to this, his army is now trapped inside the base of Scarlett. Nowhere to run, nowhere to really hide, as long as Scarlett is very, very attentive to the positioning of the Roaches. Now, as this is all going down, it is Zanster taking an additional expansion at 12 o'clock on the map.
Does it even matter, though? Such an efficient cleanup from Scarlett. She just would not let him surprise her, even when it seemed like he'd outpositioned her. She swung back that northern half of her army, trapped most of the Roaches, and she just shut all that down. If we could see the units lost tab, that would be amazing, because, I mean, that's, way in Scarlett's favor. 4,000 resources of minerals, 1,500 resources of gas difference. She's been so much more efficient, and this is exactly how you've got to play with her composition. You've got the slower army, it's better in the frontal fights. Don't let Zanster catch you out of position, just defend and adjust your positioning appropriately. That's what she's done, and now I think she says it's time. I've taken some amazing fights, I've blocked you at every turn. It's time to take the fight to your side of the map.
I think you're right, Pig. Scarlett now moving in for the killing blow, and I just don't see any easy opportunity for Zanster to deny this. The center right base will be destroyed, and now from here, Scarlett can look for new openings. Zanster attempting to do a counterattack, but blindsided here by the main army of Scarlett. A lot of these lurkers being taken out before they can burrow.
And a little bit of an awkward engage from both players there, headbutting into each other's reinforcements. The lurkers of both sides doing massive damages. There's no detection here. Corrosive Bile, though, does clean up the last lurker of Zanster. His roaches scurrying about. They want to find their way into the economy of Scarlett. It's been largely untouched for this entire game, but everywhere he goes, Scarlett is ready and waiting.
You can see Zanster again trying to attack in these different angles, and to Zanster's credit, he is getting some drone kills. However, there is an inevitability of Scarlett trying to push the top center. Zanster, however, not out of this game yet. He can still try to rely on more and more counterattacks. We do see Scarlett's army moving over here to the right side of the map, separating this army, and again, keeping pressure on the center right to keep Zanster honest in this game.
And that's just been the story here for Scarlett, keeping Zanster honest, not letting letting him get away with any cheeky moves. And the 3-2 upgrades are about to finish for Scarlett, and that is just going to give her an epic advantage in these Roach Hydra battles. She's got the superior lurker count. She's got the Drilling Claws upgrade as well that makes these lurkers burrow so quickly. Oh, Scarlett's force is just incredibly powerful.
Oh, and this is just overwhelming numbers. Scarlett's supply actually going up during most of that fight as she's continuing to produce. Zanster's supply nearly cut in half. A small ragtag counterattack is tearing through Scarlett's base, but a much bigger push from Scarlett is heading towards Zanster's main.
Yeah, she's just going to cut in here, cut off the production, intercept all of those reinforcement points. Meanwhile, Zanster's small roach counterattack was getting cleaned up at home, and he is forced to tap out.
GG. Scarlett taking that first game. I have to say, I thought that was kind of a fascinating ZVZ in the sense that Zanster was having such a commanding performance and really dictating the direction. But Scarlett just held on and basically planned for a much more later, efficient play, and it paid off. Before we go into game number 2, let's check in with the desk and see how our tournament here at the... Oh, excuse me. No, we are not. I'm 0 for 2 doing this here today. So, you know, I have to say, with a game like that, Scarlett's proving that she can actually...
Yeah. She's actually kind of got the gumption there to bounce back as well, because she went for such an aggressive opening there, right? And it was blocked, and it's such a bad feeling when you do something like, all right, I'm going to be sneaky, push back the Overlord. There's another Overlord just slightly out of your vision, watching anyway. It saw the moment she moved out. Zanster was doing a very similar sort of Ling build, so he had like the same numbers, but a few more workers behind it. He brought the Queens to the front, he deflected her push, but Scarlett bounced back. She droned like crazy behind it, and even though Zanster got what looked like a lot of damage and momentum done, killing the third base multiple times, at the end of it, we said, wait a second, Scarlett somehow squeezed 40 drones out in the midst of this?
Yeah.
And he's on like 23, 24 drones still. And we're like, oh, okay, so even though she's down a base, she just kind of slowly rebuilt it and worked her way back into that game.
The pressure's really on here for Zanster. Scarlett already having a lot of ZVZs today here.
Yeah.
Of course, Scarlett now coming from that big win at IEM Pyeongchang. I feel as though Scarlett has become more and more of a calm and composed player from the start of her career. She is so in a zen state in these big tournament matches, and you can see it by just how she is not cracking under any pressure.
Well, it's crazy, right? Because like for so many years, she's been such a champion of the scene. You know, when I was coming up as a young, ambitious player trying to be a pro Zerg player, I was copying her builds. I was learning from her back in 2013. And the thing is, she's made it to so many important matches. And in the past, she's been haunted by an inability to perform, especially in grand finals. She spoke about it quite a bit a few years ago, saying how every time she gets to a finals, everything phases out, her hands don't work properly, her brain doesn't work properly, but she's turned that all around this year. It's a new Scarlett.
Introducing our first player in the upper left, in the blue, she is Scarlett!
Representing Team Expert. Damned good so far.
And in the bottom right, in the red, he is Zanster!
Not a bad game one for Zanster. I mean, it's very rare that your opponent just gives you no openings like that. So I can say I loved his Roach maneuvers. He was looking for the openings, and unless the Zerg would have crumbled. But Zanster may be a little bit frustrated after realizing there was just no chinks in Scarlett's armor. There was no weak points for his Roaches to find their way in, and just kind of slowly got choked out of that game.
I wonder if, assuming that we do go to the late game, and we very well may not, just knowing these two players, and also seeing how Zanster played in that last game especially.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if we're going to see Zanster probably go for a different type of unit comp there in the late game. I mean, there's not exactly one right way to play Starcraft other than try to kill the other player's workers generally, but you know, you can go for an aggressive play. You can try to defend everything and then stay ahead on that. You can do proxies, you can do all-ins, as long as you win.
It's like there's so many new unit comps in Zerg vs. Zerg as well, right? Like Legacy of the Void, you see sometimes these crazy games with players like Dark and Solar back in 2016 where they're like, there's Vipers running around pulling Lurkers out of the ground, and then like Ultralisks are coming out, which is like the rare unit you almost never see, but suddenly it comes out and dominates the late game in Zerg vs. Zerg. And I think here on Neon Violet, right, this is the big macro map. We actually see Zanster taking advantage of that already with an incredibly fast third base in the back. No gas. He's going to go full economy mode, try and defend with just queens. On the other side, Scarlett opening up the fast Evo chamber. I think it's going to be a fast +1 carapace and flooding Zerglings across the map.
I think you might be right. I can't say I can really blame Zanster for going for a build I think some of us might conclude is a little bit greedy, especially when you have this third base that's basically given to you for free. In this case, the very bottom right side of the map. That's just, you don't get a safer base to take than that. But, you know, this can become somewhat predictable, right?
It's definitely on the radar,
if Scarlett identifies, well, Zanster has a proclivity to take a base like that. He wants to play a game where he can get a lot of units later on. We'll have to see if Scarlett can actually dive in here and punish him for doing that.
It's going to be a lot about information. I mean, it's always about information here in StarCraft, right? You can't actually see what's in your opponent's base until your units get in there and spot it. You know, we as the observers get to see everything.
Right.
And we get to see what's going on and talk about the mistakes the players are making. But as the player, you're working with limited information. It's really, you know, very hard to see what's going on. And Zanster is actually just waltzing right in. He's going to see, okay, fast Evo chamber that's wobbling. I know it's upgraded. And immediately Zanster is going to be very aware of the threat of a Zergling flood. And I feel like Zanster's the one who's got all the cards right now because he's flexible. He can build lots of defense. He can wall off if he needs. Scarlett, on the other hand, she's locked into this tech. She's like, well, I can't just cancel these upgrades. Like, there's no other good path. I've already invested in it. She has to go for some sort of Zergling pressure. And the thing is, she doesn't know what she's facing off against. All she's spotted is creep at the front. She's like, all right, you've expanded. She doesn't know about the third hatch. She doesn't know it's gasless. It's not going to be until those Zerglings get over there that she starts actually putting 2 and 2 together. And that's where she can start adjusting her strategy to what Zanster's playing.
Well, you can see when Zanster identifies what's about to happen, Zanster begins to wall himself in. He wants to try to turtle up this game, keep Scarlett out and keep her from doing any real substantial damage. And behind this, he even droned up with 5 more drones. Now let's see what Scarlett can try and pull off here.
I like the overreaction from Zanster. It's cool, right?
Yeah,
like, you know, some people would kind of try and time it to the last second. I'd do that and probably die to the Zerglings anyway.
I think a lot of people would.
He's like, no, this way, it's just peace of mind. There's no way Zerglings will ever break this wall. I've got 4 queens in his spine. And he's like, just drone city, man. He's got upgrades. He's going Roach tech. He can drone up these 3 bases. I think Zanster's saying, look, I'm gonna get to the Roach stage my way. I'm gonna be comfortable. I've got a small drone lead. And you know what? That carapace, that Zergling speed, they're going to avail you nothing. Absolutely nothing done except forcing the wall for Scarlett.
So Scarlett has a pretty mild contain right now. And from here, she can monitor what exactly is going on at the entrance of Zanster's base. Zanster's going to have to break down that self-made contain there later on if he's going to be getting out and doing things around the map. So Scarlett's trying to take advantage of this. We know that she did expand outwardly, keeping the free base for her saved for later on. She's now getting plenty of roaches. And I have to say, if you look at the overall worker count and army count, I mean, Scarlett's fairly close to Zanster and workers. Zanster does have a lead, but she's got a pretty big army, and she may have enough map control that this could become problematic for Zanster later on. There are so many moments where Lings could be hit on the map to counterattack if Zanster tries to leave. There's also the possibility that Scarlett can just march across the map and try to do contain here. The angle that we're looking at this entrance, it's not that easy to get out of.
Absolutely.
The ramps in that small area just north of the Roach Warren, they operate like funnels.
This is really fascinating because of this, and it takes so long to get across the map as well. So Zanster's actually going to drop a Nidus Worm here. Did the Overseer? I don't think the Overseer had a chance to spot that. Changeling is in the base. There's a Changeling about to run down the ramp. Is it going to see it? Oh, it spots the Nidus Worm.
So important.
Scarlett knows exactly what she's up against. And you know what? She's already massing roaches. She should be super well prepared for this.
Okay, the question now is where exactly will the Nidus Worm get set out? I believe we have a scout headed up north towards the main here of Scarlett. This is certainly a common place to try to send that Nidus network. And here we go, it started. Scarlett needs to scramble. I don't see the army moving up there just yet. and it's going to be a matter of seconds before this army will unload in the main. Zanster seems to have distracted Scarlett.
She's intercepting his roaches and getting a lot of kills, but yeah, that Nidus in the main is worrying right now, Nick. So many roaches and queens coming out, but actually, oh man.
Easy peasy.
Wow.
Okay, so she just had that timed out so well that she won a fight in the middle of the map, got there at the last, basically the last possible second before enough of the army could unload, kills the Nidus, then kills the remaining units that popped out.
Yeah, a little bit of an error from Zanster to not transfuse the Nidus as it was going down. His queens had plenty of energy, and I think he actually didn't have his roaches loaded into the Nidus at home. They were sitting out front of his hatchery, so unfortunate mistake there for Zanster, and now Scarlett is on top of his army. She says, I've got more than you here. I am happy to take this fight for days. He's now starting to rally out a good number of reinforcements, looking to turn this trade around. I think Scarlett might need to get out of there.
Yeah, Scarlett will probably need to back up here. And this is a decent position for Scarlett anyways, even though she had to back off from that fight. Bear in mind, the burden on Zanster right now is to get a 4th base, and he just gets that right here at the center right. But Scarlett, she has a bigger army. What's to stop her from coming over here and smashing that expansion?
Exactly. She's got more income as well in the ever-important minerals right now. If we bring up the income graph, we can actually watch that tab. And you can see Scarlett's got the full 3rd base at the front. Yeah, it's a bit harder to defend, but she's got 4 extra mineral patches, and you can see that reflected here. So she's got more workers, and that's because she's got more places for those workers to mine from. And that income advantage is building into a bigger and bigger army advantage. She's just going mass roaches. Zanster knows this, and he's making a very intelligent decision. He's swapping into Spy Attack. He wants to get a round of mutas out, use that air superiority to rain down, snipe the Ravages of Scarlett. But I don't know if he's going to have time to get there.
Yeah, I think the idea is great, but the application may not really pan out, especially if Scarlett manages to barrel in here and just smash this expansion. Already we see Scarlett tearing open the map a little bit more, giving her a lot more mobility. And is she going to try to just go right through the front door here? This seems almost crazy, but
it's an insane choke point. But maybe just pick away the structures. Like, yeah, this is nice dancing from her, because the structures kind of choke up Zanster as well, and he's just way down on supply right now. So if she can get rid of those Evo chambers, she might just be able to force her way up this ramp. For now, just playing it very carefully. She is maxing out 3 Mutalisks on the way for Zanster. He's supply blocked right now. There's so much pressure on him to try and defend this. He needs more Mutalisks to hang on, but he's down 25 army supply. Upgrades are even. Scarlett pushing through the north with a roach counter. This army still threatening in the south as well.
So, Scarlett is basically hitting at 2 locations. One right now, the main entrance to Zanster's base, and she's actually just going for it. She dives right on top of this location, surrounding those units. The small force of roaches at the top are still fishing away some of Zanster's other army.
Oh, the roaches coming back from the 3rd are going to help a lot here for Zanster. The mutas, of course, starting to focus down those Ravages, but already a lot of drones have fallen. So even if this gets cleaned up, looks like Scarlett is going to snipe down the 4th up there at the same time. Does get cleaned up here. Nice hold for Zanster. But Scarlett has a 4th up at home. Zanster reset to just 2.5 bases.
Yeah, Scarlett with way more assets at this point in time in the game. Zanster is going to have to try to crawl out of his main and get another hatchery. I think also the counterattack from Zanster could work out. We'll see how this unit combo, especially with the mutas, actually pans out.
Hydra count starting to grow here for Scarlett. Just a few Spore Crawlers peppered between these bases. Nothing actually on the front expansion right now. She's got to bring all those Hydras down to the front. Her +2 Carapace is almost done, which is going to be huge against these Mutalisks. Even when +1 Flyer Attack finishes, the Carapace is going to shut down those Mutalisk bounces hardcore.
Okay, the roaches continue to come up now, and Zanster just too little, too late, and with the Hydras in play now, the mutas will be gunned down so easily. Zanster on the retreat, which means the attention will probably go back to that expansion that's being acquired now for the 2nd time.
Oh, and this is an elimination match, and Zanster has to tap out. Scarlett with a decisive 2-0 victory there. Very nice second game. The first one got down and dirty, but that second one, Scarlett was in control the whole way.
Really brilliant play there by Scarlett. Once again, reasserting why she is feared around the globe as a Zerg player. This possibly the scariest Zerg player that we have in the whole world right now
the
is Scarlett.
Range of play is just so good, isn't it? She's just shown so much depth, and I mean, Zanster, hats off to him. He's getting more and more respect from us every tournament. He keeps clashing with often the best players in these tournaments. It's the runner-ups, the finalists, and he keeps going down in these close matches. But we will be back in just a moment to hear from Scarlett herself.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. I'm standing here with Scarlett once again as she takes down Zanster. So this was your fourth match in the lower bracket in a row, and you're just on a tear right now, going up against Zanster, who you actually lived with briefly in Korea. Did you know what to expect because you practiced with him in Korea, or were you not sure?
Well, I know that he played like fairly standard. I knew that there wasn't anything super crazy he was going to go, so I felt really comfortable going into the match because I thought in normal game side a really big edge.
Overall, you showed really great ZVZ at this event, taking down Lenok and as well as just Zanster just now. And I know in the past you've told me that you didn't like ZVZ, but it seems like that's changed. So what do you think it is that makes you better at ZVZ now?
Well, it's a really weird matchup. It's not like other matchups, and I think my game sense has got a lot better, which really helps because like I feel like I know what my opponent's doing most of the time, and in ZVZ that's like 90% of the matchup.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. As you, in the last interview, it's just like how you predicted exactly what was going to happen. Now, moving forward, you're playing, if you want to qualify, either True or Creator. So who do you think is actually going to advance, and who do you prefer?
I think Creator is probably going to win, but I'd rather play True. Like, I know more how to beat True, and I think Creator knows my CVP style, so I think it would be a lot harder to play against Creator.
All right, we'll see who you face in just a little bit. Congratulations again. Maybe I'll interview you again.
Welcome back, of course, ladies and gentlemen, to the analysis desk. As it was always great to see some more Zerg versus Zerg, especially with the Roach Whisperer himself, Pig, bringing us all that commentary. To my right-hand side, we have Rotterdam, we have Todd, we have Maynard.
I like that, the Roach Whisperer.
The Roach Whisperer. And I want to check in with Rotterdam. We did see the end of Creator going up against Guru. Can you give us a little bit of a recap as to what may have gone on there?
Yeah, we could just take a look at it. We saw, of course, the ending in game number 2 on Catalyst, where I think Creator sort of put himself in this position where he suddenly had to go all in, and it was kind of unnecessary, I felt. Game number 3 was basically the longest tango of Hydras and Lynx versus a never-ending immortal count. you know, it started at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and at one point he has 16 Immortals. He's like, if you're only going to make Hydras and Lynx, I'm only going to make Immortals and Storm. So he's got 16 Immortals, and they basically just kept dancing back and forth. Banelings trying to connect with the army. I mean, Guru did get a little bit of success killing this fort base, but how sad is it if you lose your fort base, but you've got 16 Immortals? Not very sad. This Hydra army, ultra trap, no way out. I mean, maybe it could have gone via the south side, but then the Hydras would have obviously cut it off. And this basically just went on and on and on. But yeah, there is only so long you can make Hydras and Zerglings against Immortals. So in the end, Creator's army just too powerful, and Creator, his Storm Immortal army won.
Thank you very much. And we can go over to laptop number 2 now, I think, Todd, who's in the midst of Creator's next series.
In the midst is one way to call it here. True went for Nidus, and
Whoa.
apparently, can't quite tell, but it feels like he
It's working.
might have worked. I don't know, like there's an Immortal.
Needs
that
some
was
shield
people.
batteries. Okay, he has shield batteries, but he's not in range of
Lots
them.
more units coming out.
Oh, okay, that one Immortal in range of the shield batteries. Oh my god.
That guy is like the
gonna
Lion
be Big
King
Daddy.
of the hill, man.
Oh, it's gonna be Big Daddy. Big Daddy's not gonna fall. Look at Big Daddy. He's like, oh! Give me another sense of being. Oh!
Is that the noise he's making?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Big Daddy saved the day.
This was sick. We jumped in at the right time here.
Mhm.
Nidus from True that just gets defended, and I mean from there, supposedly it shouldn't be too hard, right? With Immortals, that many Immortals against a low econ Zerg, you just take a third base,
Right.
build up an army, and maybe score that first map win. As Scarlett is waiting for the winner of this match to play in a qualifying match.
That's
And
right.
go up to 16 Immortals.
Yeah, that's right. We're
The
down
magic
to
number apparently against Guru. Maybe you took some notes for when you meet him on the ladder.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how it goes.
It's not 16 Phoenix, it's 16 Immortals, Roddy. Get it right.
Yeah, I always thought, you know, after 5, 6 Immortals, you've got enough, but apparently more is better.
Do you think one of these players can potentially stop Scarlett's tear here in the lower bracket, Maynard?
Potentially, yes, but I think she doesn't give herself a lot of credit, which is, you know, pretty standard for Scarlett. You know, she doesn't. She is true in the fact that you know, I'm sure Creator knows her style very, very well, but I honestly think that Scarlett's ZVP is, you know, probably her best matchup.
Right.
So True is a little weird, and best 3 ZVZ can be temperamental, so of course True could potentially take the series, but honestly I think she has a much better bet against Creator.
Well, let's check in with the bracket to keep you guys up to date at home. As you can see, it was Solar and Cyril up at the top with the Zergs. And then we have Scarlett down towards the bottom, awaiting the winner of True and Creator, as that series is going to rage on for a little bit longer here before we're actually able to move on into that qualifying match. And that qualifying match will be our last series of the day. Todd moved his hand over to my peripheral vision. So, Todd, what's going on?
We had 3 Terrans make it in bracket 1 and 3 Zergs make it in bracket 2.
Yes.
Here we go.
What's the third race in this
Here we
game?
go.
We're not there yet,
Oh.
though, Todd.
Tomorrow?
We're not there yet. I mean, don't count out Creator, even though he's losing
Is there only
prisms.
2 races in StarCraft?
He's losing prisms and phoenixes as we speak, but don't count him out, okay?
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's still
there's a
alive.
good chance he goes up against Scarlett. But obviously, the thing is, though, you know, if you're going to throw it to a break now, which obviously is your plan, because you're like, it's been a long day, and like, can these nerds please stop talking about...
Oh, yes. I dictate when the
Can
break
these
happens.
Protoss nerds stop whining for a second? Obviously, there's nothing else we can show, right, besides this game?
That's correct,
So-
Rotterdam.
Should we really throw it?
What?
Yeah, should we really throw it to
It's
a
your
break?
call, James.
Was
you have
this
to take
the point
full
you were wanting to
responsibility.
make?
Yeah.
What is it going to be?
We're going to a break.
What?
Bye-bye.
Where's the passion?
All eyes are on